Yo, what's going on, guys? It's G Miners here. Kingsfall has been back for 2 weeks now. This is officially our third weekly reset with the raid available, so I figured now would be the perfect time to go over some of the best tips, tricks, and practices for the raid, just to make your clears as easy and as quick as possible. If you need to learn the full raid, I do have a link below to all my full guide videos, so make sure to check those out if you need them first. Okay, starting with the entrance encounter, this thing can take a while, so I'm going to be showing you a major skip, allowing you to avoid breaking barriers, and then cut this encounter time in half. If you're on the left side from spawn, just jump off this ledge last minute and swing super late to make it to middle, and if you end up being on the right side, you can just jump onto these platforms and then jump to mid. For these, you do need to make the jump blind, so it might take a bit to learn where exactly they are, and you will most likely either need max mobility, ick dash, or be amplified. After that, just jump up onto the statues like I do here, or from any other location that works for you, and you're set. This is a huge time save and makes the entrance much easier to do. For the first jumping puzzle, you are also able to skip all the ships by doing the following jumps. I have some of my own gameplay, but if you want some in-depth guides for each skip, check out Side's video, which I will have linked below. Warlocks can easily well skate from this first ship to this left platform, and then straight over to the end. Hunters can do the same thing, but you will need a hot swap to blink. You can also just go straight across with this if you are good enough. And then Titans can always just sword fly over with Lion Rampants if they have enough ammo. If your Warlocks are really efficient, they can also do the skip without touching the first ship, and then the barrier won't spawn, so they can just pull your team to the first encounter. Moving on to Totems, we have two major tips. First off, the main thing you're going to want to do here is ad clear like nuts. I see a lot of players more worried about staying alive and not wiping to Totems than they are about killing ads. Make sure you run something like Forbearance or even Trinity Ghoul and kill as many ads as you can. There are tons of trash ads like Thrall that come out from the middle plate, so make sure if you are dunking in mid to leave these alive for your teammates. They will go to each side and allow your team to get way more stacks of Deathsinger's power. You need to deposit 200 stacks in total as a team, so make sure not to tether or ad clear in mid to make this go faster. If you are ever tight on time for passing the brand, this is where tip number 2 comes in. The totems actually won't wipe you for around 10 seconds if nobody is on them. So you can have your teammates run off the totem towards you with the brand and grab it between their side and mid. This can make or break a run when somebody takes too long to kill their knight and the player under the totem is running out of time. The totem itself will literally scream at you when you need to get back on, so it's pretty easy to know when you've been off for too long. Moving on to Warpriest, this is where a bunch of teams are going to struggle with damage or even still take multiple phases to kill the boss. To improve your damage by an insane amount, you can run Font of Might, which is an additional 25%. The easiest way to do this is to have 1 or 2 Warlocks on Well of Radiance, and then the rest of your team should be on Stasis. The Warlocks can run the mod Supreme Wellmaker, which will then drop Stasis Elemental Wells when popping Super. And then everyone on Stasis with Reed's Regret can also run Font of Might. This will give your Reed's Regret an extra 25% damage, and then with this, you can run something like Elemental Time Dilation and more copies of Font of Might for a longer duration of the bonus damage. And even if only 3 to 4 players do this, the other players can go and then kill the knights and let these players stay and deal most of the damage. As a bonus tip, these wizards spawn on both sides where they can be finished with Aeons to generate extra heavy ammo for your team, and you can always deal damage as a team from locations closer to the boss to prevent pillars from getting in the way. Moving along to Golgoroth, this encounter is probably the most straightforward. The only major tip is to make sure that your team is using the unstable light to deal damage. This is going to hit for something like 500,000 on Golgoroth. In this clip, I was doing the trio and got the boss's health down to about 60% myself just by throwing fusion nades and then also using the explosive damage from this debuff. You can see a huge chunk of the boss's health go down, and you get 5 of these to proc during most damage phases, so make sure to use them. Also, make sure the player with this leaves only 2 seconds before it detonates. If you leave as soon as you get it, then that's going to be around 4 seconds where you're missing out on free damage. After Golgoroth, you can also skip the next jumping puzzle like so. Once again, this can speed up the run if you have teammates who are bad at jumping puzzles or just want to pull people. For the Sisters encounter, we also have 2 major tips. First off, to speed this encounter up, you're actually able to have the Torn player jump up on the platform that these snipers spawn in on. Just have one player hop on the first plate that's glowing green so that you can see where the orb you need to grab spawns, and then have the Torn player go to this plate, jump onto the sniper's platform, and then jump up to grab the orb out of the air. This can definitely speed up the encounter and allow your team to focus more on ad clear. After you grab this, for tip number 2, make sure to steal the brand from the Death Singer that is actually glowing green. Assuming you are baking with rockets, this will always be an easy one phase, and you won't have to wait for the song to finish before starting the next phase. This is another major time skip, especially when running 3 of these each week. Last up is the Oryx encounter. We have 3 tips for this. First up, just like with Sisters, if you do become torn between dimensions, you are able to stand on the center pillars and jump off of these to get a head start on the platforming. This really helps when you are tight on time or if your team becomes unorganized. You will take damage when standing here, but you can always just stay in the air until the platforms are spawned in. Tip number 2 is for when Oryx spawns in the taken bombs after a damage phase. Instead of aimlessly running around, have your team spawn kill each of the taken knights on the 4 main plates. When all 4 are dead, this phase will instantly end, so instead of dodging bombs for like 20 to 30 seconds, you can end the phase in like 5. Lastly, for Final Stand, instead of activating both of the final corrupted lights at once, your team can actually stagger activate these to extend the Final Stand duration. Activate the first one when the text prompt appears, deal damage, and then do the same for the second one. Your time to deal damage will be considerably longer, which is clutch for times when you are low on ammo, or you're just concerned that you might not hit the final damage check. And with that, you now know every tip for completing the King's Fall raid as quickly and as easily as possible. If I did miss anything that you think should be added, let me know in the comments below, along with anything new that might come out. If you guys enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like and sub down below. And if you want to watch me live, you can do so over on my Twitch. Anyways, that's all for this video, guys. As always, have a good one. Peace.